I'm live. I'm alive, and I'm live. A little jam. We may have done this before. I don't remember. Kind of a modal thing, almost. A minor, a D9. To F9. Hey, Richard. Are you on vacation? A friend of mine just got back from Italy. First time to Europe. He's they're probably in their early 50s, late 40s. Bruce, I need to read the Discord wishes. Let's see. Oops, Discord. There we go. Ba-dum-bum. All right, where are we here? General chit chat. Wow. So if I jump on, looks like a lot of people jumped on. Oh, that's old. Okay, wait. Well, Sam's not going to be here today. Let's see. All right. I never have constipation of the mouth, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm feeling better. Still a little tired, a little run down, hard to get going. I don't know if I had food poisoning. I thought I had food poisoning, and then a friend of mine was over on Thursday. We were working on some music, and he said, "Oh, his wife had the flu, and her symptoms sounded a lot like mine." And I was like, "Yeah, but why didn't Beth get it?" And he said, "Well, why didn't I get it? Because he didn't get it, and his wife had it." So I don't know. Anybody have the flu lately? And it was stomach flu, not like head cold flu. When I was a kid growing up, a cold was head cold and flu was stomach flu. But now they call the flu like fever and cough. But I'm like, that's not the flu. Flu was always throwing up. Now, I never threw up, but the other side of the equation was very active. It made it hard to leave the house, let's say. But I managed to still work, but I wasn't feeling great. And I lost 10 pounds because I wasn't hungry. I just didn't eat. I tried to drink as much water as I could. Holly's not going to be here. That's totally fine. I mean, you guys are here more often than I think. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. Bob Schumann's in the house. Bob and Bruce are here. That's good. Yeah, so I'm going to keep talking about soloing and stuff like that, I guess. I don't know. There's so many things to talk about. I don't really think of myself as much of a soloist. I always wanted to be. One of the things I always, and it's not necessarily untrue for me, but one of the things I've said a lot to students and in clinics and things like that is that guitar players tend to spend 95% of their time practicing soloing and in practice, but in performance, they end up spending 95% of their time playing rhythm. Now, maybe part of that stems from the fact that when you're soloing, the focus is on you, so you want to be as prepared for those few moments as you can. I mean, hey, Phil, what's going on? I rarely solo live. I mean, most of my live playing is at church. Sometimes when I did that thing in March with the orchestra, pretty much all the solo lines, I wasn't improvising. It was all written out. So technically I'm soloing. I should have good technique. Make sure that it wasn't really written for guitar, so some of the intervals were kind of awkward, but I had done my homework and it went fine. In fact, one of the things I did was, let's see, shoot, now I can't remember. Let's see if I can find it. I still have the charts somewhere. Okay, where are you? What's music for? There, okay. Oh. No. Do I not have the charts still? Oh, here they are. They're probably here. Yeah, here they are. Okay. No. I think it was this one. No, close though. It's the other one. Oh well. Yeah, I think it's this one here. So this is one of the what was it? Let's see. Anybody know what that is? Sorry. So that was a little solo feature in this orchestra concert. Sounds very disjointed. It is very disjointed. How do we fake being good when we know we're not? Hey, I do that all day long. That's how I'm perpetually faking being good. You only have to fool, what is it? You don't have to fool everybody. Yeah, that's oh, it sounds Simpson-y, doesn't it? No, it's actually oh shoot. It's Mario Brothers, right? Is it Mario Brothers? It may say there. Ba-dum-bum. That's the wrong one. No, that was the right one, right? Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, Mario Brothers. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, so that was Mario Brothers, but it was supposed to be kind of like a heavy metal Mario Brothers. How to, well, for one thing, keep it simple. If you don't have a lot of chops but you want to solo, keep it simple. Know what you're playing over. I think that's important too. Obviously, for example, I had a band in Indiana a long time ago, 1979. I was in a band 79 through 83, basically January of 83 when I moved to California. So I think my last gig with them was like on New Year's Eve or something. In fact, I'd just done a gig with a new group and I was like, should I stay in Indiana? I was kind of like, I got this new other group that was pretty busy had just called me, and then I would be in two groups. And I was teaching. I had like 40 students a week at this little store in Carmel, Indiana. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should stay. But I had tried to move to California like 3 or 4 times, and I kind of chickened out. And every 6 months I was like, I'm going to move to California, and I just wouldn't do it. And I finally did it. And I'm glad. I met my wife, who's also from Indiana. Ironically, met her out here. And so that kind of changed things. But one of the things, the know what you're playing over. I was going to say, it's about the sax player in the band. He could do great charts for the horn section. Like we did a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Commodores, stuff like that. We even did Toto, the... Rosanna. And, so he did these great Horner charts and could play everything and played flute and different saxes, alto and soprano. I think, he played alto and tenor. And, but then when it came to solo, he just couldn't figure it out. It was like so many of the songs that we were playing with these just blues songs, or not blues songs, but they were songs that were pretty simple. I think we did like Soul Man. And it was almost like, horn players have to transpose, right? So if you're playing in the key of B, if you're playing in the key of C, they're in the key of B flat. That's why they tend to like sharp keys. Like a tenor sax, I think is a B flat instrument. So if I'm in C, they're in B flat. So if I'm in E, it's the other way around. They like flat. So if I'm in C, they're in D. And so they like flat keys because if I'm in B flat, which is two flats, they're in key of C, which is no flats, no sharps. So sometimes when you're playing with big bands and things like that, you would play in the key of A flat, and you're like, really, A flat? Oh man. Or E flat, or even like G flat or D flat, and you're like, why? And it's because the tenors, the trumpets, and the tenors are B flat instruments, and so for them it's the keys up a whole step. So if you're playing in D flat, it's really just E flat for them. Anyway, so if you do the key of E, that's the key of F sharp for them, and so it's not a great key. But like, say we're doing Soul Man, might have been in B flat, I don't know, might have been C, but it was like he forgot to transpose or something. Like he's reading the chord changes, and either he didn't write them out in the key, but his solos, a really good player, went to college and got a degree in orchestral woodwind instruments, but orchestra doesn't ever ask you to improvise. So he didn't really have those chops, and his solos, the bandmates and I would be kind of looking, and I was as a kid, like everybody in that band was 10 years older than me, but if I knew that, I knew that I'm safe if I just play in B flat blues, if it's a kind of a blues, kind of a B flat centric thing. So the first thing you want to know is what key what's like the basic blues key over something, or the basic minor pentatonic. I've got this progression here, and I'm gonna loop just a little section of it. All right, so I can loop as little of this as I want. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Okay. So this progression is A minor, to D7, D7. Again to A minor, to F9. Okay, now I can get rid of that F9. I can just have the two chords, the A. I can loop it so it's just a 4-bar phrase here. So it's just A minor to D7, okay? Or I could just make it A minor, just vamp on A minor. Just A minor, pretty boring. I don't even know if I would call this a modal. Is there a seventh in there? Yeah, there's a seventh right there. I add that key natural note right here. So it's kind of, so that doesn't really change anything. There are three minor keys in diatonic minor keys. There's Aeolian, or just regular minor. We call it natural minor is another name. It's got three names, and it makes it so confusing. Aeolian, minor. If I said play an A minor, it would be the same as A Aeolian, or you could say A natural minor, and that would be the same. And then there's two others. One's Phrygian, and one is Dorian. And so if we look at the A minor scale, you can play it simply as that: A, open A string, fifth string, open, then second fret and third fret, A, B, C. We're just going to do the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So 0, 2, 3, and then again 0, 2, 3, and 0, 2, and then back down. 2, 0, 3, 2, 0, 3, 2, 0. Let's talk about the letter names, okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now, over this A minor. Now, that F note sounds kind of weird, right? It's kind of odd, but the reason I chose that note is because there are two others. I said there were two others of three. Okay, we have Aeolian, which is the natural minor, and we have Phrygian, and we have Dorian. Well, and I'm going to explain those in just a second, or give you shortcuts to them, okay? And Sam knows these. Sam's not here today, though. But if we take the second note, the B, and flat it, and that's all we do to the scale, that's Phrygian, okay? And the Dorian one is, we go back to the B, A, B, C, D, E, and that F becomes F sharp. Okay, so play it with me. Open, second, third, D string open, second, fourth, open G string, and then second fret. And then back, 2, 0, 4, 2, 0, 3, 2, 0. Now, this progression, I could play either of those scales. In fact, I could play all three of them over this progression because it's just A minor to A minor 7. So all the notes in those scales will fit over this one chord progression. I hate to call it a progression. But you notice when I did it originally, I played the F natural because I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking A natural minor. It has nothing to do with the fact that there's an F natural in it. But I'm playing A natural. I'm thinking A natural minor. So one of the touchstones that differentiates A minor from A Dorian is that F. So in A minor, it would be F natural, and A Dorian, it would be F sharp. And so if I play the F natural, I'm implying that we are for sure in A natural. So it gives you a very Aeolian sound. You'll hear Rick Beato talk about that. It's like if a melody goes to the, that gives it a very, so do that with me. Slide up to that E note on the second string, 5th fret. And if you can hear the chord progression go by. You can turn my guitar down a little bit. that would be a very Aeolian thing. Again, it's kind of about knowing what chords you're playing, what's the best scales to use, things like that. Now, there's a million places we can go because it's like I said, we don't know what the next chord is. So if there is a next chord, if there is no next chord, then we can I can go Dorian if I want, and that would be taking that F and going up a half step to F sharp. Hey, Blizzard. I'm adding a blues tone in there. I could also go very Phrygian on that. I could have the B flat. So let's play the Phrygian scale real quick. It will be weird. But we'd have open A, and then first fret, B flat, then third fret, C, open D string, second fret, third fret, F, open G, and A. So it's A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A. So that it's much more exotic sounding. Sounds like Charlie's Angels, right? Yeah, so it's not, it kind of makes sense that it's not natural. Natural minor, right, would have a B natural in it, which is a beautiful tone. So we go back to A natural minor, we get that F natural, which is kind of weird, but it kind of sets it up. Oh, we're in A minor. But that B natural, which is the second note in the key, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Is just a great, the second almost always works in any key you're in. You play that second and it evokes something. So, going all the way back to the question about how not to sound like a complete noob or whatever, an idiot when you're soloing, the first thing to do is to kind of keep it simple. What you want to do, you want to work on the ability to play something maybe fast, work on your scales. Yeah, it's kind of, Dr. Zane, it's kind of bluesy, isn't it? But I've just got one chord here, so I can kind of go anywhere with it. I can go, more. You can almost go anywhere when you just have one chord to solo over. But with this one chord, A minor, we don't really know. I could play A minor. I could play A Dorian. Or I could play A Phrygian. Sorry, I messed up there. Which, again, the Phrygian scale in general, the Phrygian scale sounds very exotic, or even kind of, it's used a lot in kind of metal music. Like if I pull up a metal tone or something. If I did an A. you know, that Phrygian scale, again, which is basically a minor scale with a flatted 2. So you take the second note, the B, and you flat it, and you get a B flat. And there's other minor scales. We could do melodic minor or harmonic minor. But with this chord progression, remember I said that the A minor chord, it's not just a pure A minor chord. It drops down to G natural right here, right there. So there's a little bit of movement in this piano part or Rhodes part. So that tells me I really can't kind of get away with a harmonic minor, which would not have a G, it would have a G sharp. A harmonic minor would sound like this. Also very, very exotic sounding. But if we're talking about the diatonic scales, of which there are 7 diatonic scales, 3 of them, God bless you, John, 3 of them are minor scales, okay? And really the crux of any minor scale is that the interval between the root and the third is going to, the third root note, the 1 and the 3 is going to be a minor third. So in the case of A minor, it's A, B, C. In the case of Phrygian, it's A, B flat, C. You don't need to memorize these names or anything, but if you do, great. I'm saying them so much, it's probably going to start to sink in. It's kind of one of my methods of teaching is just to, don't worry about it. There's no quiz on this, but I'm going to keep saying it, and eventually you'll be like, oh, well, of course that's a Phrygian. You know, of course that's a Dorian. So that's how you sound to me. If I'm imitating, it's oh, of course. Well, I can't hear your voice. It's like when I imitate the boys, when I talk to Beth and I'm saying the boys are saying, well, you know. It's just funny. Like I said, with this progression, or with this, it's not a progression, it's just literally one chord. I could play any one of those. Right? And if I do that with me. A to B flat, right? Okay, again, the Charlie's Angels thing is coming to mind. You are really telegraphing that this is Phrygian. So, and again, Phrygian tends to be a little bit more on the exotic sound. I think that Dorian sounds maybe a little bit closer to the blues. So if I played Dorian, so what happens with Dorian, we go back to the B natural, and we get that F sharp instead of that F natural. So play that with me. Go F sharp on the second string, 7th fret. Then you get that tritone. Now, if we were playing it over like an A7, you might bend that C up to a C sharp, but there's no C sharp here. It's just a C natural. It's an A minor chord, triad basically, a minor 7 chord. Okay, you see? So I went F sharp to C, one of my favorite licks, to the A. And then you got that, right a half step away, you got that G. Oh, the guitar's a little low. Okay, sorry. So, yeah, so, you know, that's super duper Dorian sounding. Another thing you can do in Dorian, like over the A minor, you visualize this A minor 7 chord here, so you go. So I'm playing the 4th string and the 2nd string at the 5th fret with these 2 fingers. So I'm just using 2 fingers and I'm hitting them. See, I'm grabbing them with these 2. Kind of doing what's called hybrid picking, where you use your pick and a finger. Very common in Nashville. So again, with this simple 1-chord jam, I guess you could call it, you can definitely go, minimum, you can go 3 different diatonic scales. You could also do pentatonic scales. You could do pure A minor pentatonic. Right? I could also play E minor pentatonic, but I'll start with A minor. I could add the blues note. So I added the blues note. I could also play E minor pentatonic. It's going to sound a little weird because we're not going to have a C. An E minor pentatonic would be all the notes that are in an A minor pentatonic, but instead of a C, it's going to be a B. But the cool thing about when you choose a scale to use over a solo, you don't have to stick with that, okay? So if I start out with E minor pentatonic, which to me creates a little bit of a hollowed out sound, like you're missing something, right? And the great thing about using pentatonics is that you generally, those tend to be the first scales you learn. So you tend to be fairly proficient at them pretty early in your soloing endeavors. And so if you know all the pentatonic shapes, that's really good. You're never probably ever going to get as fluid with all of them as you are with maybe pentatonic, the first one. But I can find an A minor pentatonic up here too, so I can start on E minor pentatonic. In fact, that's not a bad thing to do, is to practice going back and forth, in this case maybe between E minor and pentatonic and A minor pentatonic. So with little snippets, not like the whole thing. Not like here's E minor, now here's A minor. I mean, that's good to visualize that and to see all those notes. Totally great. But it's better if you just do a kind of melodic idea with one and then maybe make a slight modification of the melodic idea with the second scale. So for E minor, I might go like that, right? And then, see, it's the same lick, except instead of playing B, I played a C, which makes this, it's A minor pentatonic. So again, there's, right, I've showed you, like, just over that one chord, you could do A minor, you could do A Phrygian, you could do A Dorian, you could do A minor pentatonic, and you could do E minor pentatonic. You could also do D minor pentatonic. It's a little weird. You could do B minor pentatonic. It's again a little weird. It's one of those things where you can kind of go there for a second and then come back. This is a cheat code. This is this is a cheat code. Okay, right here I'm about to give you a little cheat code. But like I said, B minor pentatonic is right next to A minor pentatonic. So here's A minor pentatonic. Here's B minor pentatonic. Okay. So we've got some weird notes here. We've got a B natural and we've got an F sharp. So we're really super duper implying the Dorian scale. We do have an A in it. B minor pentatonic has A, B, D, E. So we have the 1 and the 4 and the 5 of A minor pentatonic, but we also have the 2 and the major 6. Okay, so check this out. But what the trick is, the cheat code is, all right, is that you can slide back and forth between these two, and you kind of want to ultimately end up on in A, but you can go A, and it just sounds like you did something crazy. You can even do it down a half step, like especially in the top 2 strings. I'll do that. Check this out. Whoops. So what happened when I did that, okay, there's our A minor pentatonic. Play that with me. 5, 8, 5, 8. And then slide that down, okay, to B and play it backwards. And you're like, well, those are all wrong notes. It's like, not really. What you've got here is you've got ascending, we have the E, G, A, and C. Those are all in the A minor pentatonic, A, B, or A, C, D, E, G. Okay. And when I slide down a fret, there's the B note, there's the second, that's beautiful. Okay, that's a G sharp, so I'm just doing the same shape up, down as I did up, but down a fret. Okay, so what I've got here is a B, which is the second of A minor. That G sharp is the harmonic minor. Remember the harmonic? But harmonic minor scales are used a lot of times in jazz as a substitute for played over like the 5 chord or something as dominant 7th chord. Okay. And then if I keep going down that shape, the little box, okay, I've got an F sharp, which is just again the Dorian tone. That's that major 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then I have this E flat. You're like, well, that's totally not. No, that's the blues tone, man. Same note. So once you get down to there, you can go right into a blues lick. Okay? And then, like I said, you can go up. It sounds a lot more complex than it really is. It's like I said, I've mentioned this before. I can't find the book. I don't know what it was, if it was literally a book or if it was notes from a clinic. But a friend of mine had this. I thought it was a Herbie Hancock book. Now, maybe it was a book about how Herbie Hancock plays. Herbie Hancock when he was doing jazz. So 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Pre-Rocket, 80s era. But Herbie Hancock apparently went through all 12 pentatonic scales and ranked them over different chords and went, okay, over A7, this one's the most in, this one's the most out. And he would rank them on a scale of 1 to 12 because there were 12 of them. Like this one's number 1 most in, this one's number 12 most out. And when I finally saw Pat Metheny live, I was in the 3rd row. I was watching his hands the whole time, and he almost completely did pentatonic scales. And so again, pentatonic scales get under your hands so early in your soloing career that you can. So let me mess around. Let me just mess around with these over this progression. I can even do this one. And it like I said, it's now what you want to do is not just play those kind of things in the position you know. You might. So I'm moving A minor to B minor. Or down. So you know, learn again. The first thing you do when you learn to solo is pretty much learn your pentatonic scales, and those can open up. Like I said, just moving them around. These are all the A minor pentatonics. You could. It takes a while to kind of learn them all. You can do it. You can even learn all the boxes if you want, like the George Harrison. Or you got the. That's not a bad thing to do either. I think I did a video on box shape somewhere, some point I think it was in the house. So it's been in the last 6 years. Crazy, I've been in the house for 6 years. I can't believe it. We lived in that apartment in Pasadena for 32 years. God bless my wife. She was so patient, and she never ever hounded me to buy a house. She didn't want us to get into a situation. Too many friends of ours got into situations where they were either house poor, or they couldn't afford to keep going. They had to sell, or they got foreclosed on, or whatever. Especially during the mortgage thing. Right before that, I had friends that were saying, "Oh, you got to buy a house. You got to buy a house. Everybody's doing it. You can get a loan. You only need to put down 2%." I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Oh, adjustable rate mortgages are great. By the time they raise it, you just refinance it before they raise it. Yeah, no. Glad we didn't do that. That would have been very stressful. So I do have a 30-year mortgage, which is kind of scary at my age, but the interest rate is so low, it doesn't make any sense to pay it off. I'll let my kids pay it off when I die. Hey, Gil Gortez. Man, I just find the groove. I can see it and hear it, but nothing. What would you suggest? Gil from Texas. You just can't find the groove? Or... Well, one of the tricks to grooving, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. We're getting ready to add a chord to this progression, and then when we add a chord to this progression, it's going to become a little bit more obvious what key we're in at this point. Okay. One of the things you want to do, Gil, if you're not already doing, is you want to keep your hand moving. A lot of like, for example, one of the things you can do is you can just mute all your strings and just play 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And know that you're in Texas, so there's a Texas shuffle. That's it's like it's gonna have a slightly different feel if you're playing it like a blues song in Texas versus a blues song in Chicago or a blues song in New Orleans. They're all gonna have a slightly different shuffle feel. Can't think of it offhand, but one of the things you can do is keep your hand moving, okay? And then like if I'm here at the 5th fret, I can just squeeze this A minor chord, just barring the top 4 strings, basically, right? And just squeeze on the downbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, kind of resisting the urge to go. The problem when you do that is there's a lot of space in between those hits, and you're going to be a little early, a little late. But if you do this, you're going to be able to kind of be your own metronome and keep everything going. You might speed up and slow down, but if there's, I would also, if you're really wanting to work on your groove, I would not practice with a click as much. I might practice with a drum machine or drum loops of some kind. If you have a Mac, it comes with GarageBand, which has billions of drum loops. If you just probably pull up drum loops on YouTube and watch, jam along with that and just try to play, keep your rhythm going on that. So that's the kind of the starting point. The same thing's true. The standard folk groove, which can be used in so many different genres. Like in the 50s, it was like right, or in bluegrass it'd be, or in, just folk music. The temptation when you play that groove, you hear it. Beginners hear it. They go, oh, bum, 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 bum. I am a, oh, that's not really the pattern. I am a leprechaun. I am a leprechaun. No, that's not the pattern I'm used to saying that with. But you hear it, and then what you want to do is you want to imitate it. And that's not how you would play that groove, because it's very stiff sounding. You're only moving your arm and you're only moving your hand and your pick against the strings when you hear it on the notes that you hear when you hear that rhythm. But what's happening the way everybody's playing is they're playing down and then they're coming up before they hit the next down. So it's not down, up, down. It's down, down, up. And so those kind of things you need to be aware of, and the whole reason for that. If I even hit whole notes, like if I'm playing with a band maybe and I'm hitting whole notes, I'm probably still going to keep my hand moving to some degree. I mean, I don't have to do that so much anymore. But, you kind of just, there might be a subtle movement of keeping the pulse going. Okay? So, as far as grooving goes, that's the one thing I would try to suggest if you're still kind of a beginner, is to keep that hand moving. Don't go Elvis Presley in a movie. All right. So now I'm just going to change the loop here for this chord progression, and the volume's off on the guitar. Yeah. No, you're not losing any more hearing. Now we have A minor to D7, actually D9. I think D7. That D7 has an F sharp in it, so now we're not in A minor, we're in A Dorian. And the interesting thing is, okay, if you add the notes up of A minor pentatonic, and B minor pentatonic, you get A Phrygian, Dorian, you get A Dorian. So the B minor pentatonic definitely works. In fact, you can go A minor pentatonic, over A, and then over the D. That B sounds kind of weird, but it makes that D sound like a 13th chord, which is jazzy, kind of cool, right? And what I would do is, if you're going to go back and forth between A minor and B minor, you can totally do this where you're just shifting back and forth, right, between the two. But what I would do is I would look for scales that are superimposed on top of each other. So like I might play B minor here, and the most familiar number 1 pattern, I call it pentatonic number 1. But then I would use the A minor pentatonic that's right there. For a couple reasons. I don't really have to look at my hands, right? I can close my eyes and kind of listen. See, part of the reason why guitar players all soloists close their eyes when they're playing or even singing is it removes some of your senses so you can focus more on your hearing, okay? So if you close your eyes, you're less like, it's it's funny because someone said this, I'm so old, when I'm driving, I turn down the radio when I want to see better. And that's so true. It's like, if I'm like going, okay, where am I? I turn down the radio. It's like I'm looking, I'm scanning. And it's kind of that principles at play. So you might see, I might close my eyes when I'm soloing, but it's hard if you're going to be moving all over the fretboard to close your eyes. I mean, unless you just got phenomenal facility. And I'm not necessarily that guy. Too many Zeppelin concerts, yeah. Oh, it still seems low. Okay, all right. Turn it up. So I've got B minor here. And I think one of the other things that you notice when you superimpose, okay, for one thing, it allows you to kind of stay in one neighborhood. It helps you to start to incorporate different pentatonics that you might not be as familiar with. It also helps you to see the commonality between the two scales. So when I play this and then this, I can see that these two notes are in both of the scales. So that kind of helps. It also helps you kind of create some continuity between the chord changes. All right. So, anyway, sorry, I'm just keeping tabs on my text because Alex and Avriel just arrived in France. They're doing two things. They're going to the Cannes Film Festival because the movie that they both worked on is at Cannes, which is fun. Student film, but it's still, it's at Cannes, so why not, right? And then they're going to go to Paris for 5 days for kind of a belated honeymoon because they never really got a chance to go on a real honeymoon. So this is kind of their honeymoon. a couple weeks in France, which is fun. So somebody, who was it? At the very beginning here, they're in Italy. Richard Abdul is in Italy. Venora for a week. That's awesome. Is there enough to do in Venora to be there a week? It's a long flight for LA to Europe. It's, we're looking at, if it's a direct flight, we're looking at 12 hours. I've been looking at flights for different things, and if you make a connection, it can be a 20-hour airport adventure or longer. So I'm like, oh, it's not a lot of, I tend to fly United. I have a lot of miles on United, so we can fly to Europe for free 10 times on United. But I like to go business class if I can. Okay, so the chord progression here, like I said, it goes from A minor to basically D7, and so that would be basically a Dorian, and so A Dorian is an A minor scale with the sixth note raised up a half step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Instead of F, it's F sharp. So play that with me. Open A, second fret, third fret, A, B, C, A, B, C, okay? And then open D, second fret E, fourth fret D sharp, F sharp, and then open G string, and then second fret on the G string is the A. And it's the same as the key of G. So if you want to think of a G major scale, it's the same notes as in the key of G. But there's no G chord in this, so it's just in the key of G, it's technically a 2-5 progression. Very, very common progression in jazz. Very common modal jam. But it doesn't ever go to. And we could talk about that one. May do that one next week. Talk about the chord progression for Breezen, which is a 1-6-2-5. 1-6-2-5, 1-6-2-5, 1-6-5-2-5. And what you could do is, let's say I'm speaking to myself here, okay? But let's say I just too often gravitate towards it, to starting out this whole thing to pentatonic number 1 or the scale that is built around that pentatonic number 1, that first shape. So what I might do is say, okay, today I'm not going to use that shape, or today I'm only going to use this next shape up, I'm thinking about it in kind of terms of like Larry Carlton, where he would like play it over the A minor. He might play a G triad, and over so and then over the D, he might play a C. See, again, I'm seeing that B minor pentatonic, which I just said I wasn't going to use that shape, but I'm seeing those two pairs of notes right there. So it kind of makes, you know, you'd start to see these little. So anyway, those are just some things that, oh, we got a picture coming from France. Aw. Yay. Okay, now here's what's crazy. All right, I'm going to go back to the A minor pentatonic. The chord progression I have here, for some reason, well, not for some reason, but it's a really cool progression. Okay, so if I'm going to show you kind of more the jazz voicing. These are not intense voicings or anything, but they're bar chords. We have A minor 7, so I'm basically barring all 6 strings at the 5th fret, and then I'm adding my 3rd finger on the 5th string. And then D9, and it goes back to A minor. So D9 is like this. We'll say 5th string, 5th fret, 4th fret, and then 5th fret across the board. Okay, it's pretty crazy. You get that F sharp in there. It might be a little difficult. You can think also this D7, and then it goes back to A minor. And then it goes to E, F9. So if you can play this D9 chord and go up 3 frets, you got F9. And you could resolve it, but I don't resolve it here. I just stay there, and then it goes back to the A minor, which creates some interesting opportunities. Kind of what I think of when I'm playing over this is. So what I did, so over the F9, I kind of played, you know, A minor, we did A minor, we had B minor, and I played C minor, kind of C minor over it. Also kind of almost played B minor over it, so kind of created a hybrid scale out of B minor and C minor. B minor pentatonic and C minor pentatonic. And knowing that I'm eventually heading back to the A minor chord. Yeah, the F sharp doesn't really work over the E flat. The F sharp works great there, but you can't really use it over the so that's what's crazy is like that's kind of like C, kind of a C harmonic minor. Not that I'm really thinking of it, but the thing is that that B, C, D line works over all three chords. All three of those notes. And that works too because that blues note over the A minor works too because the F7, the seventh is that E flat. So that's a sweet tone over that, and it sounds like you know what you're doing. And I kind of do, and I kind of don't. And the B natural just sounds amazing, and that makes this F9 sound like a F9 with a flat 5. Okay, kind of a super duper jazzy chord. But it really sets up that A minor nice too. So, and it gives you some common tone. So here, these two string or this string. So there it's, I can't, like I said, that F sharp's not going to really work over the F9. If it was an F9 flat 5 or an F7 flat 9 chord, then I guess, but then this note wouldn't work. So, but this little shape right here works great over that F9 chord. Not that you care. There's the D7. Also, a common chord progression would be maybe to go to E9 at that point. Because E9 would be the 5 of the A minor chord and be a really strong song. Might not be a bad, bad progression as well. So, and I'm not doing the progression from last time 2 weeks ago. All right. So what else is new? What else is going on? It's funny because when you're on Instagram, if you go like the stories or you go to search or whatever, it'll show you stuff that you tend to click on, for better or worse. But I'm getting a lot of Matteo Mancuso. Man, that kid is insane. Now, people are saying he's the greatest guitar player ever. That's just a super hard thing to kind of to formulate because I am the greatest guitar player who ever lived. I'm not even in the top 100,000. Guthrie Govan, holy cow, that guy's a monster. Just a monster. And, one of those guys that can, shred in so many different styles and kind of match up the technique that goes with it. The Mancuso, he has his technique where he's playing kind of like a classical guitar, but he'll actually, like, I think what he's doing, in fact, I saw him on Beato, I think he was talking about it, like, he's not just going like upstrokes with the fingers, he's doing like, he can like do up, down kind of thing, it's like up, down, or something. I don't know. He's using his fingers as picks, but instead of having one pick in his hand, he's got like four. So he can, and then you can do these sweeps. Sorry, I don't have my volume up. He can do those kind of sweepy things with the fingers instead of with a pick. And his tone sounds like he's using a pick. It's funny because he had Matteo, what's his name? The other Matteo. The two Matteos on Beato. The other Matteos come to my church before because Edwin Carranza, a bass player friend of mine, who was playing at my church, was subbing at my church one weekend, brought Matteo with him back when he was just starting out. And I think he was interested in maybe playing at Shepherd, and I would have had him do that, except he just got so busy. He just wasn't really his thing. So, but Mancuso's made, like, was it Mark O'Connor, the guitar player who could play fiddle, guitar, mandolin? Joshko, who's actually in California right now. His shows are pretty much sold out. I thought about going, but hard to get tickets, and so I don't know if maybe he's going to do a clinic somewhere or something. But anyway, Beato just interviewed him, the gypsy jazz guy, and on YouTube you can find him playing bebop, and you can find him playing. I follow this young kid on Instagram. Well, he's not that young. I don't think he's probably 40 or 35 or something, but. He does the rock, can do the Clapton rock, 60s rock thing really well, Zeppelin. And then he's a really good gypsy jazz player, and then he kind of can do. And then you've got, Julian Lang, who's got, the bebop chops and the bluegrass chops and tone out the just crazy tone. His hands have such great tone. So yeah, to say pick one of those players to be better than the other. I mean, I would even say George Benson. I mean, just George Benson's fluid, his ability just to play through it, changes and stuff like that is just crazy. Although we've talked about this before, George tends to play over the easy part of the changes. Like if you listen to This Masquerade, he gave the hard changes to Jorge Dalto, the keyboard player, and he played over the was it F minor to B flat, the 2-5 we were just playing over just now. But in the key of F minor to B7, I think is what's happening in This Masquerade. So kind of a little bit, I'll say easy to play over a 2-chord progression, especially if they're in the same key. If you're playing over a 2-5-2-5 progression, like this, okay, this progression here, and we may do Beat Breezin' next week. This progression, yeah, that's easy to play over. It's just A Dorian, right? But what makes it difficult is to say something. Sometimes if the chords are changing, you're constantly going to maybe changing keys and going to different parts of the song. It's kind of easy to come up with new melodic ideas that kind of touch on it. But if you got the same 2 chords back and forth, that's where it kind of exposes you. I discovered this the first time I played live with a blues band, actually, when we did rehearsals. I was like, oh, I know 5 blues licks, and I keep doing the same blues licks over and over again. I really didn't have a repertoire. And so it's actually good. It's good to be exposed in that way, because then you realize what weaknesses you have and what things you need to work on. It was the only gig I ever did with a blues band, so I never had to work on it again, really. But what was the name of that band? It was funny because a friend of mine started it, and I thought, oh man, I'll finally get to take my vintage Marshall out. But of course, it's 50-watt Marshall, had very, very loud amp. And so I had a juice extractor by, I forget who made it. But I don't know if I plugged it in wrong, but it didn't like it. And I blew the transformer on my vintage Marshall. And it's blown right now. The transformer's blown again for whatever reason. So that's a bummer. I don't have my Marshall's not up and running, but I need to figure out what's wrong with it. It's got an issue somewhere. It's Yep. But I don't really play with amps very often. It's getting harder and harder to justify it, schlepping around a bunch of amps. And I can get the sounds I need here at home. Don't get any complaints about the sounds I'm sending to engineers and producers and the composers. So that there's that. Oh, do we have a? Oh yeah. Sorry, I got some. Okay. Anyway, so let's see. Let me close that. All right. I'm trying to think about what I've got going. I've got to take care of some stuff right now, but. Hey, Redskin Garage, what's going on? What is this show? We're not talking about football today, though. This show is generally me talking about guitar until I get tired and start talking about something else. So, we're still talking about guitar, though, right? Oh, okay. Toshiki. Okay. So yeah, we were just talking about soloing and soloing over like an A minor chord and then over an A minor to D7 chord. What's that like? And I gave out a couple cheat codes too. So this was kind of a good lesson for that stuff. I just like any young kid trying to learn play guitar, you always think, oh, there's some secret. There are some things like that. Like I said, when I finally saw Pat Metheny play live, I realized how much he uses pentatonic scales. He uses them in an insanely musical sense, and his playing is flawless. I probably that night I heard a billion notes and I didn't hear a bad one, and that's just insane to me that you can be that precise. And his band was great, but I noticed how much he utilized pentatonic scales, and you could do some really cool things with pentatonic scales just by moving them around over the same chord, and it creates these odd sounds that you like, wow, that's really interesting. He's really out there, and it's like, and I look at his hands and it's still a pentatonic scale. Okay, so he's out there because he's just, moved his hand over, and it sounds like it's out of tune, but it's not, because he's bringing it back somehow. And it's, yeah. I mean, like I said, I was doing that with this A minor thing. And so every one of the pentatonics has kind of their own flavor. Some of them might work over the A minor, some of them really don't work, but again, you can kind of go to them for a second. Like, could I justify going up a half step? Like, for example, so just the A minor chord here. Even though oh yeah, that's a good question. Like I said, that's kind of weird. It might work. I don't know. It sounds like you're going out jazz, but you're just moving the A minor pentatonic up a fret. As far as, well, I did this yesterday to my main Strat. Or Saturday night, I broke a string Saturday night playing, and I needed to put usually when I break a string, I just replace all of them. I usually wait too long to change strings, and that's why I broke a string. I use elixirs, and they tend to last longer. So those strings have been on for a while, and I sometimes take advantage of that. But it's kind of a bad marketing strategy, right? Make strings that last longer so you don't sell as many of them. That doesn't make any sense, right? It's the opposite of planned obsolescence. But what I did do this time, the fretboard was pretty dirty, so I took all the strings off. And if you have a tremolo or a whammy bar, you might want to put like a popsicle stick. I usually put a popsicle stick under the whammy bar so that it's not hitting the top of the guitar. I don't really care if it scratches the top of the guitar. You might not want the top of your guitar scratched. So I put like a popsicle stick or something you can put under there. But the reason I do it is so that the tremolo doesn't go too far in, and it makes it difficult to get the strings in the holes on the back side. Because if the tremolo goes all the way back, then you're kind of having to work hard to get the strings through the holes or to find them, because they go, unless you have the back plate off. But you can do that, take all the strings off, and then I cleaned it. I had got orange oil, which you can find it pretty much. You might have to go hunting for it, but you can find it pretty much at any hardware store. And orange oil, spray it on. I've got the spray kind. I spray it on a rag and then wipe off all the grunge off your fretboard. I'm kind of known for having grunge on my fretboard. But on my main Strat that I use for church, it's a maple fretboard, so you can really see the grime on it. Like on this guitar, you can't see the grime. I don't see it because I'm not looking. I can't even see my fretboard. I'm not even looking at that. I'm not doing this. If I looked closely, I'd be probably disgusted. And that was a funny thing, because with the Paul David video that I did a couple of years ago with him, I never noticed that there was that much grunge on the fretboard. People kept talking about it. I was like, oh, gross. It is full of grunge. So Paul was like, don't worry about it. People will say, fixate on the stupidest things. I said, I know. When he showed up this year, I said, hey, look, the fretboard's clean. So we got that into the video, so people just shut up about it. But yeah, so that's kind of one thing you can do. If you have to make a neck adjustment, you can look down here and see you want a little bit of what's called relief. You want there to be a slight bow. You don't want it perfectly straight. You definitely don't want it back bowed. You want what's called slight relief. And I don't know the measurements, like if you hold the first fret and this, the 10th fret or whatever, there should be a little bit of space here, that kind of thing. You can watch some videos on that. I'm not a luthier. I do my own neck adjustments, but I never adjust more than 1/4 of a turn, which is actually quite a bit. I might go 1/8 of a turn on a truss rod and then let it sit for a day, because you just never know. You don't want to jack up your neck, because those are that's an expensive repair. If you break your neck, or you back bow it, or you do something too weird to it, so you got to be careful there. You can take off the knobs if you want. That's one thing too. And you can take these off and spray some contact cleaner in there. You want to use one that's not oil based. You use one specifically for electronics. That'll help get rid of the crunchiness. I've never replaced the pickups on any of my guitars. This is completely stock. I know they look like custom pickups, but this is a 1997 or 1996 G&L Legacy Special, and it basically came with these hot rail type pickups, and I can get a pretty decent clean sound out of it, but I usually use a different guitar if I want to get a real clean sound. So but yeah, if just getting to know cleaning the fretboard, cleaning the electronics, those are basic things that I do, that I don't really need to take it to a guitar tech to do that stuff, changing the strings. Although sometimes if I got to change the strings on my 12 string, on either of my 12 strings, I take it to my tech and I pay the money for that, because I'm just like, I hate changing strings on the 12 string. So Yes, he is very influenced with two fingers, guys. No, the gold YouTube, that's not coming. There's no way. There's just no way. I haven't had, in fact, my revenue is way down on YouTube. It's almost, I'm only here for you guys. I'm not making any money on this. I mean, I think I'm making about $200 a month now, so it was, it's not, I'm not doing a lot of videos. Oh, we're starting to lose viewers. I'm not doing a lot of videos right now because of that, because it's paying less. If I do a video, sorry, I'm trying to get the right, there we go. If I, do a video, I can see how it's tracking. And I look at my last, let me pull up, where's Safari? Dang, why did I close Safari? If I pull up my last 5 videos or something, and I'm not trying to catch lightning in a bottle again. I mean, I have. And if I do a video that's like 7 more tips for older beginners, I'm trying to catch lightning in a bottle again. My last one on Crazy Tunings has 800 views. That's not any, there's no revenue there. The one I did on playing on Austin Wintory's newest score, that took a lot of time to make that video. I got 500 views of that. It's just, people are not, people complain about, they have all these views, but most of my views are from non-subscribers. I wish they would subscribe. I have the opposite problem. I have all these subscribers, but they never watch my videos. So, and maybe that's a byproduct of doing the live stream every week and people have turned off the notifications, and so they don't see my videos. I mean, I did a video, my new favorite tuning, and it's not even close. It was my cello kind of tuning. That's got 2,500 views. So, and it's 100% likes, which is nice. When the jam tracks always kind of get downvoted, not very much, just like 96%. So, I did a couple jam tracks, not doing anything. I did my wah tips one. I gave away so many cool tips to use a wah pedal, 1,000 views. It's just not now. I could promote it. If I promote it, it costs a couple $100 to promote it. I could do that and see if it generates $200 in revenue. I mean, if it did, monetize, editor, analytics. I don't know how far, manage ad slots. Yeah. Somewhere there's a place where I can promote a video, but I'm not sure. Promote right there. Okay. New video promote. Google Ads account. Create a new account. Okay, next. Let's see. Video. Let's just say video views. I'd rather have video views than. Okay, next. Then targeting. Okay. India. Why is India there? Oh, I see India, the country. Okay. I thought those were tags. I don't know that I need to go India. Maybe Australia. I don't know. But next. Budget $200. End date June 2nd. So it would only promote it for. Yeah, so it might get me 20,000 views. That's not going to generate $200. It might get me 230,000 impressions. So, and cost me $200 to do. So we'll knock down to 100. Almost a better deal in some ways. Anyway, I've never done that. I could. I don't know if I would do it with that video. That was a funny video because I ended up having to use the audio from the camera that was at my foot. because the audio at the camera that was against that wall behind me was too much reverb from all the strings ringing out. So I got a bunch of these to put in the strings to mute them. So that was pretty funny. All right. Well, listen, I need to get going. I've got some things I got to take care of, some business stuff. But I'm trying not to work too hard because I don't want to have get too tired because I was sick and I wore myself out and I lost like 10 pounds, which I was kind of happy about that, but gained a couple pounds back, but just had stomach flu or food poisoning. I'm not sure which. I'm hoping it's not food poisoning in some ways because if it is, it was one of my favorite restaurants, and I'm like, oh man, it was the guacamole. I'm like, no. So I don't know how likely it is to get food poisoning from guacamole, but the guy I was with, having lunch with, he didn't have any guac because he's allergic to avocado. So I ended up eating all the guac, and we both had the same lunch otherwise. And then the next day I was in bad shape. And I'm like, usually it comes on faster than that. That's the other thing. So I think maybe I got the flu. But then I called him and asked him, are you sick at all? And he goes, no. And so he didn't get the flu. And we were talking to each other for a couple hours. So business meal. But anyway. All right, everybody. God bless you all. I'll try to be here next Monday. I don't see any conflicts, although it is Memorial Day. I think one of my kids will be here with his wife and their dog. So I'll see them. And then that'll be exciting. So we'll talk more on this subject. I don't know if you guys are getting anything. I'm trying to keep it real simple and then kind of showing you like, okay, you could go this way. Not that I can go crazy soloing wise. I suppose I could if I really wanted to. I don't know. I don't really try. Not my thing. My next thing is retiring. Probably. We'll see. Anyway, God bless you all. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you. And John, thank you for the tip. That really helps. Believe it or not, that bumps up the month a little bit. And like I said, it doesn't take much to bump it up anymore. Back when we started doing these COVID lessons, I was generating decent money every month. Like, okay, I can keep doing this, and but it just kept dropping, less and less viewers because people weren't home anymore. So that's part of the problem. Anyway, God bless you all. I'll talk to you.